Tonight, we have learned that 2 Peace Corps volunteers in West Africa have been exposed to the Ebola virus and moved into isolation. The volunteers came into contact with a person who died from the deadly virus, and today, the Peace Corps pulled its more than 300 volunteers from Liberia, Sierra Leone, and Guinea. And now, 2 American aid workers are in serious condition after contracting the disease, and more than 1,200 people have contracted Ebola in West Africa. Nearly 700 people have died. And if Ebola sounds like a problem a world and a half away, you're right. But still tonight, we are mourning the death of a 24-year-old Nat Dennis, who is from the Howard High School class of 2007. He was in Liberia, and now his family has to plan a funeral. ABC 2 News' Christian Schaefer talked with one of his many friends tonight.
Yeah, you know what, Jamie? Tonight it appears that Nat Dennis did not actually die from Ebola, but he got sick while in Liberia and fell into a coma and had to be quarantined as a precaution because of that Ebola outbreak. His family had been trying to get him back home to try and treat whatever condition he did have, but because of that quarantine, they were not able to do that, and he died early this morning. Nathaniel Nat Dennis had been working as a DJ at a radio station in Liberia. He got sick, had to be hospitalized, and fell into a coma. Despite desperate attempts to get Nat to a more modern medical facility, his condition deteriorated and he died this morning.
A friend had told me that he was in a coma, and then I woke up this morning and saw it on Facebook, unfortunately.
Thomas Cole attended middle school and Howard High School with Nat Dennis. They graduated in 2007.
He was a great guy. I mean, didn't have any hate in his heart. I remember even when people weren't the nicest to him, he put it right back at him. He didn't let it get him down. Always had a smile on his face.
Dr. Diane Griffin is the chair of the Department of Microbiology and Immunology at the Johns Hopkins School of Public Health. She says Ebola can't spread through the air, only through close contact with bodily fluids.
It's not infectious in the same kind of way that a lot of other viruses are infectious.
The virus, she says, is almost too deadly for its own good, killing so many of its hosts that usually it's like a forest fire that burns itself out. A strict quarantine and protective clothing for health workers is the only way to stop it. Despite the size of this outbreak, Dr. Griffin doubts it will spread to the United States or other developed countries.
They would have precautions taken that are easier to do in developed countries where you're only dealing with one person, perhaps, than if you're dealing with dozens of patients in a more rural kind of setting.
And even though at this point it does not appear Nat Dennis died from Ebola, the outbreak in Liberia and its neighboring countries made it nearly impossible for his family to save him.
I mean, you hear about it in the news, but when it hits close to home, it makes you stand back a little bit.
Nathaniel Dennis's family had started a GoFundMe page to try and raise money to bring him home. Now that money will be used to help the family with funeral expenses. We'll have a link to that page on our website, abc2news.com tonight. Live in the newsroom, Christian Schaefer, ABC 2 News.